Hello and welcome to another episode of the IAA Mobility Visionary Club. Today we are digging deep on design, and we thought it would be fun to invite someone with a designer's perspective and a CEO's perspective to have a friendly little debate and talk about what designers can learn from CEOs and vice versa. Let me introduce you to my guests, Claudia, Tobias. It's great to have both of you. I want to give you each a chance to introduce yourselves and also answer the perennial question, what is good design? Ladies first.
Thank you very much. My name is Claudia Braun. I have a long experience in automotive design. I had different experiences with different brands, which was exciting for my professional life and also for my personal life, of course. Nowadays, I'm supporting design studios all over the world just to find the perfect design for them. It's about sustainability, luxury, how to combine those topics into a perfect design. And I think design can really support the brand message in a fantastic way. So I have probably the most exciting job in the world.
Very good. I'm looking forward to hearing Tobias's perspective. Answer for us briefly, what is good design?
I think good design is the understanding what the brand actually is. Mm-hmm. And the vision of a brand is so important because we have more and more, especially in the automotive world, more and more new startup companies from China, also from the US. So the message of a brand can be easily transported by good design and a good design language.
All right. Good. Tobias, tell us a little bit about you and answer the question, what is good design?
Easy.
Easy, right?
Yeah, okay. Tobias Moos, I've been with AMG 26 years. Started in 94, left there 20. Had the opportunity to run the company as a CEO from 2013 to 2020. And then I joined Aston Martin, where I left the journey in May this year and heading to the next journey in October.
Any news you want to break now, or are you saving that for later?
It's public.
Okay.
It's not so important. But anyhow, what makes good design? It's always kind of, that's a complicated question, much more complicated than it sounds, because it is always underpinning a brand. It's a collaboration, partnering with the brand. It moves forward when the brand is a bit slower behind. So design, gives you a guidance where a brand probably heading to. In automotive world, that's very important. And as well, design is, it is very important for our customers, our clients. And it gives you a variation of choices. Because otherwise, all the cars, all the interiors of cars, the exteriors will be equal. So this is design. It gives us a variation, choices, a diversity never been there before.
Okay, very good. So I think we have a good basis for our discussion now. I think it's pretty fair to say the design department and the C-suite do not always see eye to eye on purity of vision, what something should cost. What is the biggest ongoing discussion that happens between the C-suite and the design department?
I think at the end of the day, we have a common alignment often between a C-suite and a CEO, leader of the company, or of I don't know, departments or so in design. Because you shouldn't necessarily chase for the best.
Okay, sure. That's what you tell the reporter. But
no.
That's talking about behind. Like, what are the pressure points as the designer? What is happening?
Yeah, well, sometimes you have a vision, and of course, as a designer, you are influenced by social trends, fashion, architecture, everything. And sometimes you have this feeling that the brand or a specific car project has to go into a specific direction because you see already this like ready product and the perfect scenery. And then it's really difficult to explain someone who's maybe more focusing on engineering or focusing on, I don't know, other things to explain why you have that feeling. And this is really an interesting moment. So you have to explain, you have to take your CEO or the chief engineering officer, whoever, into that journey.
Sometimes you're in the role of translating what the design department is expecting from engineering.
Okay.
So you're in the middle of the thunderstorm, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because you have design on the left or design on the right and the engineering guys on the other side and supplier in between. So you try to make kind of it's always a compromise.
Yeah.
So you're trying to bring the best compromise to life. You don't want to do compromises. Designer don't want to do compromises. The engineering guys either. So you have to find the best solution at the end of the day for the product, foremost for the customers and for the brand. And it should be cost reasonable as well. Sometimes these guys forget about that.
A compromise, what is it they say? Everyone is equally unhappy?
No. That's for sure not the best compromise. No. Yeah, in my experience, you always get to a compromise where everybody's kind of happy.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
I think you need this. A CEO is a type of a judge. You know, he's listening to all the different opinions, and everyone has his own task or his own idea of what should this car be. And I think a good CEO should listen to everything and really try to bring the people together, because sometimes the design wants maybe too much, or it's too expensive, or the engineering wants something which is probably over-engineered, and you have to step back from a design. And then I think a CEO has to listen to all of these people. And then I think if the CEO can make a decision which is balanced, then you can accept it as a designer, and all the other departments can accept it as well. But it's hard to find those type of CEOs. I have to say, you are listening. Sometimes we had to speak a little bit loud, but you're listening.
Because you guys worked together, actually.
She did interior stuff for the cars that I created with MG, with the team there. But it was great. But it's sometimes you have to judge yourself as well.
Yeah.
You need kind of an understanding. You have to have a bit of an understanding about the market trends, what's going on, who's chasing what, and don't mix up your personal opinion with design decisions, because that's, in my perspective, that's totally wrong.
Okay, that's interesting.
Because I'm not the customer probably, so I need to listen to the people. I need to listen to everybody from design, from engineering. But the best solution is, and we often achieve that. It's a solution where everybody's kind of equally happy.
Yeah. Okay. Claudia, you said a good CEO has to be a kind of a judge, has to be listening. What about a good design department? What's your expectation from them?
The most important thing for you as the guy who's responsible for kind of the balance sheet is that you have an early engagement between engineering and design. Now, if design just runs away and creates something behind a wall, you just get lost. It's time consuming. You need to get the people back again together on the table, on the drawing board, whatever. So it's more important that, and we had always that situation, that we have early engagement between design and, it's all about makeability. Can you do that? Can you produce a car what these guys are designing? And this is the most important. This is my expectation from a design department. But sometimes it's important that they move the needle. Otherwise,
say more about that. What are you willing to dig deep into your pocketbook and let them move the needle? What makes you go, yes, this is it?
Sometimes they just ignore it, the expectation that they are early engaged with engineering. So they just bring up solutions, ideas, creations, which are really amazing, and you have no clue how to bring that to life. But then you have to think different. Then you have to push engineering and ask for support. And then you're back on a broader collaboration between design and engineering. But this is the expectation from a design department always. Be the spearhead. Get an understanding what the brand should look like in 5 years' time down the road. Because the cars you create today, you see them on the road in 5 years. So you need to imagine what's going on in 5 years, 6 years, what is modern.
So how do you do that? You're not just predicting the future, you're creating it. Where do you get your inspiration then?
That's probably a good question, because no one really understands how a designer's head is working when it comes to new ideas. I think it's a combination, as I mentioned earlier, between being open all the time. So as a designer, you work constantly, because everything you see is information, or has an influence on what you're doing. And of course, you need to have a really good portion of empathy, because it's not only about what happens in the world, what is happening in other design areas. It's also about what's the brand about. So if you work at a specific brand, you have to understand the brand. You have to see the history of a brand, and then really understand what would be the next step. And you have to, if you have a good experience in what you're doing, it's like a combination between something which is like imagination of what's coming in the future, and then bringing it together with the brand, and then you create something new out of that. But it's not to say they just do something. This is not happening. It's really well known what a designer's doing. So it's really collecting a lot of information and just trying to pick those informations out to understand what is necessary or important for the specific brand.
We are standing at the precipice of massive transformation in the mobility industry, autonomous driving, electrification, connectivity. How do you approach that from a design perspective? Because so much is changing so fast. How do you stay across all of these topics, and how do you keep your design at the forefront?
Yeah, well, of course, there are many topics right now, but for me, I think design has been always kind of the same way of working. So it has been always a big influence what happens with new technologies. So because design is not art, so you try to combine engineering, technology topics into a product or a car, and you try to bring the design, or I would say also for the customer, this fantastic feeling of now everything comes together. It's convenient, it might be luxurious or sporty, and to really combine the right things. Because if you look at the whole world of technology, there are so many things you could use, but also to pick the right things for the right product is really important.
That's pretty exciting at the moment, because you're going to see a diversity you never saw before. Not just on cars, but all the technology bits and pieces. The transformation in the automotive industry, from a robo-cab to a sports car, that needs total different approaches from an interior design perspective, from an exterior design. A robo-cab is probably a box on wheels, and a sports car should be probably similar in proportions like you have today, but maybe a different drivetrain. So this is the future of mobility, so to speak. It's more diverse than ever, and this is pretty exciting. And every segment, when you talk about that diversity, needs a special approach in regards of interior.
But I think one thing has really changed dramatically, that the young designers are much more open to think about like bigger topics. It's not like car design 20 years ago, where all the car guys were just interested in sketching cool new exterior designs. Now it's also feeling responsible for the world, talking about topics like sustainability. How is mobility of the future? Which kind of technology we would like to implement? What does this mean for the future, for the customer, for our whole world? I think we have nowadays, from that perspective, a total different situation. We know what happens with our planet, so that has a really high impact on what designers are doing. You cannot just say, I create something which is beautiful. That has been the past. That has really changed dramatically. So now we feel all designers much more responsible for all the really high, interesting topics right now, which are fantastic also as a creative impulse.
Yeah. I'm curious how much of the push towards circular design, more sustainable materials inside the cars, more recyclable materials is coming from the design department saying, look, we have to change this. Because as a consumer, I think we're often only sort of aware of what's actually in between the door and the metal, right? But you know every bit that goes into that. How much is that at the forefront of your mind?
Very much. But it's really difficult. So I have really a great experience from Sweden when I worked at Volvo and Polestar, and working at the Polestar Precept, for example. That was really interesting. When the CMF department, we created new material ideas, knitted material, no waste material. We talked about circularity. It's much easier if you have a CEO who is really open to that topic and also pushing into that direction, because engineering, of course, is kind of always in a situation where they have to fulfill the expectation of what's happening right now with the production cars. And then you come up with ideas. Sometimes you have no supplier for those new materials. You have no idea how to translate that into reality, and to create a show car is fantastic, because that's the vision. And as soon as you have the vision, everyone understands where is the journey going to. And to convince an engineer is much easier with a ready seat or a ready show car. But it's still, if you have to change the whole supply chain, if you have to change the whole way of working, if you probably need to hire new engineers who have new skills, Yeah, that has a really high impact on how you work. And I really like these like open discussions all the time. And you need really this open and new creative spirit in a company.
How do you think about that as a CEO, this need for increased sustainability when you also have a responsibility to shareholders?
ESG is in line with shareholders. Absolutely. So sustainability is a very important topic, not just when it comes to fuel consumption. It's all about recycling and reusability of all materials. So yeah, coming to the interior, it's very important, or to the exterior, whatever. It's very important to change a bit the mindset for automotive, which is complicated. And therefore, as a CEO, sometimes you use design to move a bit forward.
Say more about that. How do you do that?
Yeah, he doesn't want to say that he wants to push the company into direction.
This is exactly
what you can do it.
This is exactly what you mentioned. Yeah, sometimes you make usage out of design. Yeah, and let them go with that new ideas of sustainable materials, whatever, and you sort out afterwards together with engineering how you can move it. Yeah, but you need somebody who brings the ideas to the table, and then. Sometimes it's complicated, no supply chain, total different materials, total different production methodologies. But yeah, sooner or later you get there. But you need to start, otherwise you're nowhere.
You have to start. Guys, I could talk about this for like another hour and a half, but I do know that we are conscious of time. One final question. If you had a time machine and you could travel to any point, past or present, which design era are you going to and why?
I think the 70s.
The 70s?
Yeah. Why? And that's a really good question. I'm born in 1977. And sometimes I feel like the year you've been born is very interesting. I really like the cars of that area. I like it now. If you look at the car design, everything is, some car brands go into this really round and sleek shapes. And I like these really clean and a little bit edgy type of cars. I really like that area. Okay,
Claudia is going to the 70s. Yeah. Tobias?
I think from design perspective, not just car design, architecture, whatever, the 20s, the 30s, 1920s, 1930s was really important. I think that will be the time.
Okay.
But I don't want to travel there because I love it today. Because look, we live in such an exciting world, and it is the diversity and the variation of design, what we see everywhere, and the affordability of design in products, in whatever you can buy, never been that great, especially in Europe, North America, in that side of the world. So,
all right, great time to be alive. I can't think of a better place to leave it. Claudia, Tobias, thank you for being our guest here. It was a pleasure having you. And thank you for joining us on the IAA Mobility Visionary Club. We have more design content coming up, including an interview with the CEO of Polestar. I'll see you soon, and thanks for watching.